According to Mortgage News Daily, the interest rate today is 6.65, and it looks like we're on a downward trend to even approach the low sixes. This is great news to those because little about a month ago, we were about almost 8% and things were pretty terrible. So of course, with rates continuing to drop, the big topic that people are talking about is, oh my gosh, interest rates drop, and when this happen, prices go up. There's even articles out there talking about how there's all this new demand and all these home buyers are now hitting the market again and things are going to eventually get crazy. Here's the thing. I want everybody to take a step back and just listen to me for the next 5 to 10 minutes and let me explain you some numbers and some data that I found that can show you that I don't think prices are going to just increase and go up. So before you go and call your real estate agent or hop in the car and go look at some houses because you're afraid you're gonna miss out on the next bust or whatever it is, let's take a step back and let's analyze some numbers together. So grab a water, grab a coffee, grab your favorite LaCroix, you fancy person, and let's get straight into it. My first topic that I want to approach is this has happened before. Let me explain. If we're looking, let's say the last 5 years, we know that the start of the pandemic was absolutely bonkers because our interest rates dropped as low as starting like, I don't know, low to mid August, September 2020. They dropped all the way down to like the low threes. And these historical lows stayed that low for at least about a year and a half, right? And during this time, we saw a massive increase in monthly average sales price. Like it just blew up from almost $354,000 in the Phoenix, Arizona area all the way to $600,000. Now, of course, this didn't last. The peak was summer of 2022. But if we look at the interest rates, we can see something happening at the beginning of 2022. Rates continued to be low, but we can see that sharp increase. And until about, I don't know, let's say May or June, rates like were staying around the 5% range, stayed pretty constant until they blew up even more towards the end of the year when they were almost at 7%. This, of course, killed any momentum and completely made prices drop. We can see what this did to the inventory is it made like around April, we were at a historical low 2021. In the second half of 2020, we were also low, but we saw the inventory just completely spike starting in April, right around where that interest rate really started kind of boosting up on us, right? So that inventory increased, the demand dropped, and it caused the prices to completely dip. But if we really look into the actual sales price, we can see that our market was pretty much crashing. And this is just Phoenix numbers, but most markets resembled this around this time. We can see that from the tip of 2022, prices were dropping and they were dropping pretty harshly. Of course, the prices were continuing to drop because our inventory was spiking up. And if you look at the under contract number, those numbers were going down, right? Whereas 2021, we had high under contract numbers and we had low inventory. That was completely flipping around. And as we can see here, the prices were going down. Some might say we were crashing, but we can see at the beginning of the year, something changed. Something changed so drastically that it actually made values go up to near the level that was the absolute peak. What do you think happened? I'll let you think about it while I take a sip of my LaCroix. By the way, if you're interested, check out our Discord channel. We have a nice community there, whether you're waiting to buy a home, whether you're a waiter, someone who wants the market to crash, someone who's buying, someone who already owns their house. We have a great community of people there. I also live stream pretty consistently on Twitch, so check all those links out below. Anyways, what do you think happened? If you guess something happened with the interest rates, you are right, my friend. We can really zoom in. Let's go October of 2022, around there, okay? So interest rates were up, low sevens. We can see here in January, there was a drop. They dropped all the way to the low sixes, okay? Now this isn't a massive drop. We can see here from, but let's actually go back a little more. It's like 0.8, right around there. Okay, so they were low sevens and it dropped to the low sixes around there. Unless you were doing some other stuff like an ARM or a fixed year went all the way to the 5. But we can see the jumbo went all the way to 5.99, FHA went to 6.18. Actually, let me take all these out so we can see this a little more easier. So let's look at this drop right here, okay? 7 to low sixes. That somehow made prices go up again. If we analyze the inventory to see what happened, we can see that our inventory was as high as we ended off, right? We went really high, but then towards the end of the year, it started kind of dropping. Less people were putting their houses in the market, and we see that there's a dip of inventory. Remember, high inventory means high supply, and as long as that demand stays low enough, then prices should drop. So the inventory dropped a bit, yeah, but it still stayed around that 14,000, 15,000 range in Phoenix. But we can see here with the demand is for some reason it spiked in the beginning of the year. Now, I'm not saying I know everything, but what I do know is during this time, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype because interest rates were like high. They thought they were going to stay high forever. When they started dropping again to the low sixes, people thought, okay, this is great. Time to buy again. Things are going to be okay. And the problem is people, in my opinion at least, people still had the habits of these days where they would overbid like crazy. They would have to go, they thought they were competing against cash buyers still, and they would overbid. And of course, this led to that massive increase here that peaked all the way until June. Now, it's very typical for most, markets to do this. The beginning of the year, there's an increase to the peak of June, the summer, and then it drops, and then it starts rising again to the next one. We see that, but this is still very massive. I mean, it shouldn't be getting even close to this because this was a combination of the rates being that low. But anyways, I digress. Let's keep going. So here we are now. I want you to look at this. Look at this drop and then look at this drop here. Other than the fact that this one is starting higher and this one is starting lower, they're very similar. Now, these drops don't look insane, but if this drop was enough to somehow, I guess in a word, save our market from imploding on itself, what's going to happen here? Well, of course, the natural conclusion is prices are going to go up again, like I kind of described. So we've seen this before, but there's two main differences between what we've seen before and what's happening now. For starters, we're starting from a massive drop. As you know, the last time this happened, the prices went down all the way from the average sales price of 600K to 522, which, by the way, let me just acknowledge, still completely unaffordable. Look how things were, okay? Market crashed, flat, slowly growing, and boom, right? So obviously, let's acknowledge the issue is this right here. This is not natural. This is terrible. Frankenstein monster, horrible. But anyways, let's keep going. So we started from here, which was a pretty big drop. It brought us back all the way to November 2021 values. So there was room to grow again. This time around, we're starting nearly where we were at the top, only about like $10,000 difference than we were at the top. So for prices to go up, that means we're going to go even further than where we were before. But the problem with that is quite simply what led this to explode. That was, go back 5 years, the low interest rates. This low interest rate appeared from 1 to 2 years, created that massive explosion. All we did is drop about a point. We're not at that point of massive explosion yet. So the idea that agents are putting out there that we're suddenly going to blow up in value, I don't think that's very likely because we don't have that momentum of the low 3% interest rate that was historical. We don't have that. All we have is a point drop off. Now, the second biggest distinction here is going to be quite simply the difference in the starting price range, okay? Whatever led to this increase of values going up again, right? Whether it be that interest rate that dropped or whatever, there's a huge difference between where the prices were then and where the prices are now. 588 versus 526. So this is just the average. If we look at the median, which will probably give us a more accurate number of where most people are buying, give or take-ish, it's a difference between 415 and 440. Now, we're talking a difference of $30,000, but give or take, every $10,000 is about $50. Now, the second biggest distinction I have, that's really the most important one, is I personally think home buyers learned their lesson. I think whoever rushed out to buy when things were starting to get better at the beginning of the year, I think there were still a lot of pre-existing habits or like FOMO left over from the massive opportunity that was the real estate pandemic opportunity, whatever you want to call it. I think this year has beaten up a lot of people especially when it comes to affordability. And I think people have learned their lesson to not completely jump into the home buying ship until things relax and calm down. Now, I have been showing you the average sales price, but if we look at the median sales price, which takes right the middle one, we can see that yes, there is an increase here, but we're starting to see that kind of start going down on a downward trend. So in my opinion, in 2024, I'm expecting prices to drop back to where that bottom line was, wherever that is for you. Now, even if we go back to Fred, the good, reliable Fred, it also shows this drop here. And then doesn't really show the Q4, but I'm assuming there's going to be a little increase here. I'm assuming for sure in 2024, we're going to drop to here at least, right? The thing is, I hope that we continue dropping. And as it's dropping, I hope interest rates drop as well. But what I'm concerned about is you and everyone else watching any kind of real estate content anywhere, whether it's Fox News or your favorite YouTuber. You guys are so in sync with the housing market that you don't let things be. You don't let things naturally happen. In my opinion, the market was already kind of fixing itself this year, but everybody started jumping in when interest rates dropped. Like, you guys are like, okay, I'm going to stay put. Things are crazy. Then you see a news article about interest rates dropping. And you go, well, here I go. So I think now more than ever, take a step back, okay? Work on your budget, work on your savings, work on the things you can control, pay off high interest credit cards or high interest debt. Really work on saving this money. If you think the market's going to crash, you're going to thank me for having a lot of extra savings in the bank. If you don't think the market's going to crash, well, you're going to thank me for being able to continue to save and prepare until you can actually afford the monthly payment, mortgage payment, to be about 20 to 25 or 30% of your net income. Whatever route you're going, I think now is more than ever, you need to really take the time to work on the things you can control and keep an eye on things and stop being so in tune with what's going on with rates. I was just showing this on my stream today. Like, I was telling people the things you need to work on before you even start doing like heavy market research. I mean, why are we looking into the housing market when you don't even have a budget set up, when you don't even have an emergency fund set up, then some kind of retirement fund set up, then your housing fund? Why are we looking at the housing market when you don't even know what your 20 to 25, 30% of your net income is, meaning your mortgage payment? Like, what if the mortgage payment doesn't work with your current income in the area that you live in? Why are you looking into the market hoping it's going to crash? You're going to know if it crashes, okay? Yeah, be in tune. I'm not telling you to just completely be blind, but I think a lot of you guys really focus a lot of energy into like being in tune with things, that you don't let things just happen. So 2024 is the year of you getting your financial things that you can control together. Whatever happens with the market will happen with the market. Okay, there's nothing you can or can't do that will prevent from whatever was going to happen. However, if you decide to rush in and just go because Fox News or your favorite YouTuber is telling you that your market's crashing or your market's not crashing, whatever the case is, then maybe you are contributing to a larger issue. So let's all hope 2024 fix and flippers take big losses, wholesalers take big losses, and the first-time home buyer or home buyers in general start getting victories. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great end of year. And of course, if you're watching this in 2024, how is it? Was I completely wrong? Let me know.